President Cyril Ramaphosa will deliver his address against the backdrop of a rainy and gloomy day in a scaled-back ceremony as he unveils the government's plans for the 7th administration. We've got a full team for you stationed to give you wall-to-wall coverage in the lead-up to that address. Part of that team is my colleague Mpo, who joins us now from our satellite studios in Cape Town. And Mpo, we're still taking in what this moment may mean for a president who certainly has his work cut out for him as he tries to bring together divergent ideologies in the form of the GNU and communicate one government message today.
Absolutely, Ayanda Nyati. Of course, very central to what we are expecting to hear, expectations being high, stakes also high as we scrutinize, of course, the build-up to the opening of Parliament address, looking at the various factors and also factoring in what community members, ordinary South Africans on the ground, what are they saying, what are they hoping to hear, and how will what Ramaphosa has to say this evening effectively change their lives. A lot happening in Cape Town in the build-up to the opening of Parliament address. We know that as we have this address this morning, Nat Joint Security Clusters hosting a briefing. Of course, you will understand the imperativeness of security and ensuring that the plan is well drafted and formulated. Those are live visuals that you're seeing on your screen there. Our reporter also monitoring that outcome as security will be a central feature of this evening's address. So we will continue, of course, to look at what is being said there throughout the course of this morning as we continue on this end to bring you reaction on the expectations ahead of the opening of Parliament address. Still in studio, we have Gundo Maswine, who is from UCT, an expert in the urban and public infrastructure space. Gundo, we were talking earlier on about the importance of what Ramaphosa will say today and just factoring in the different elements. We've heard around service delivery, what community members are expecting. We've also listened into the cries around economic development, creating jobs, but there's also the factor of corruption and what that means at grassroots level, at municipal level, and the role of SOEs. What's at stake?
Yeah, thanks. So that's an important question. The issue of corruption is an important question because it's something that has been out in the media a lot. Yeah. So day in, day out, we are reading about this, we are hearing about this. But then we ask ourselves, if in the past 3 years, for example, we've counted at least 15 accounting officers who have been accused of corruption or suspended or even charged. Mm-hmm. But we don't have record of any accounting officer who is in prison for corruption. And which then begs the question, could it be that, because some of these cases are going to court and the courts are saying they have not found any wrongdoing, but by that time the person has left the organization. And the nature of public infrastructure is in such a way that you need somebody to be there to get a certain rhythm going so that you can now scale up the rate at which you deliver public infrastructure.
Sure.
When you have a disruption, it takes a long time to get a new person who can get the same rhythm. PRASA is a good example of that. ESCOM went through a tailspin with that. But then at local government level, it happens a lot. Mm-hmm. The municipal council can fire an executive director for infrastructure on a whim for whatever reason. It's really up to them. There is no case or anything whatsoever, and even through the labor court, the process takes a very long time. So all the plans that are there in the municipality of development for the long time, all the plans which are in the National Development Plan, Vision 2063 and so on, you will find that there's a big disruption that has happened and the new person takes a long time. Mm. So it's an issue that has also caused it has been a deterrent for most professionals, especially those that know their worth and they respect their profession. They avoid going to those spaces, and then we will say we don't have qualified people. But we are having this pattern where from a political decision or there's pressure maybe from the opposition, there is no time to really properly investigate what has actually happened. Sometimes a person is just charged. So we have cases from City of Johannesburg. Way back when Herman Mashaba became mayor, they are now in court, and you listen to the merits of the case and you realize how it was reported then and what you are seeing playing out in the courts is completely different.
Why is that? Where are the loopholes? I mean, as you give us that example, more so as we factor in the role of engineers, perhaps. I mean, what we're reporting on engineers, the shortages, the number of engineers unemployed, I mean, this sounds like it all ties in very nicely, trying to get some sort of answers on the reasons behind it.
Yes, part of it is that our legislative framework had not really distinguished between infrastructure, let's say from procurement point of view, and just general procurement. So in public infrastructure, if somebody is coming to build a road, there is an allowance that I can pay them a certain level of advance so they can buy the material. You determine the risk, you determine what is going to be needed. Mm-hmm. But in Municipal Finance Management Act and Public Finance Management Act, you are not really allowed, you pay on delivery. So engineers exercise that discretion, and they would give a slight advance payment with guarantees and so on that are in place. Then when a new leader comes in, they are told that this person has paid this company in advance, and now it's viewed as corruption. But all the frameworks that we've developed for infrastructure delivery give an allowance for that, but legislation has not really ratified it. So you get that conflict. So all professionals that are registered with professional bodies like your engineering council and so on, they are now worried that once their name is out there as having not exercised their fiduciary responsibility, their practicing license or their registration might be withdrawn. So they avoid working in the public sector. So we have got, at this time, the highest number of engineers South Africa has ever had. Mm-hmm. But we have got the biggest shortage of engineers in the public sector. So if you go back in the 80s, when we had fewer engineers, we still had a lot of them working in the government, in water affairs, in public works, and so on and so forth. But right now, when we have the highest number, if you look at the 16,000 or 17,000 registered engineers in South Africa, you will be lucky if at least 10% of them are in the public sector. And the reason is that it is a minefield for engineers.
Sure, that's absolutely shocking. So what will need to come out of this government of national unity to rectify that?
We are hoping that because you have the opposition and the ruling party in one place, it will also give those in opposition an opportunity to see how government runs its business, and also to realize that not all accounting officers are actually functionaries of a political party. Yeah. That the majority of them are professionals. We cannot rule out that there are some who are not, but that the majority of them are actually professionals who are really doing their best with their work. And sometimes the opposition gives ammunition to those that have employed the politicians in other parties to fire engineers who were doing their work properly, and because they were ethically sound, they were not needed. So when the opposition raises a superficial issue, that is then used as a pretext to fire them. So I think when they are now working together in one place, those lessons will probably start to come out more strongly, because this is a big concern. There's no way we'll bring development or infrastructure delivery without qualified people. And there's no way qualified people will move into a space where they are not protected. If anything, they will leave the country and go and work elsewhere.
Yeah, which it doesn't serve the country well, looking at the state of the economy and, of course, the number of jobs that are needed to make South Africa work. We touched a little bit off air around the role of SOEs. I mean, you spoke quite a great deal about placing individuals in positions that they're qualified for, that it doesn't help to have a CEO, for instance, run a company and they don't have the necessary skills that are needed in the role of expertise. If I'm an engineer, it would bode me well to work at Eskom.
Yes, we can look now in hindsight that the worst years of ESCOM performance scientifically are the years where the CEO was not an engineer, the chairperson of the ESCOM board was not an engineer, and the minister responsible for ESCOM did not have an engineering qualification. And we even reached a point where it was almost certainly impossible to even revive the organization. But with a minister now who is an engineer, the CEO is an engineer, the chairperson of the board is an engineer. It doesn't really matter, the training of engineers doesn't matter whether you are in civil, electrical, mechanical, and so on. But there's a pattern of thinking that an engineering qualification would give an individual. So for that reason, a disruption where an engineer is withdrawn from the organization, it's a very big disruption which takes a long time for the organization to recover. In other organizations, they struggle to even find a replacement, whether or not there was any wrongdoing or not. But the best years of PRASA were when Lucky Montana was the CEO, and all the indicators were going up. After he left, then everything went
I'm going to
down.
have to thank you for your time, and of course speaking to us this morning, Gundo Maswina, who is from UCT in the urban and public infrastructure space. Of course, rolling coverage continuing as we continue to build up to the opening of Parliament address. Ropin, our reporter Samkelo Maseko, who is out and about, really just trying to get a sense of what South Africans are pinning their hopes on as we look to the opening of Parliament address this evening. Samkelo, good morning.
A very good morning to you, Nati. Essentially, we are here outside the caucus meeting of the Progressive Caucus, which is 4 political formations, UATM, NCC, and UAT, and also the Economic Freedom Fighters, and the official opposition as declared yesterday in the committees, which is the MK party. We are going to bring in Mr. Ntlamulo Ndlela. Just about 2 minutes ago, Dr. Mandlakayise John Hlophe, Dr. Mandlakayise Hlophe, the leader of the official opposition, was addressing this particular caucus taking place now. Mr. Ndlela, just the essence of the address by the leader of the official opposition, Dr. Mandlakayise John Hlophe. What was the substance of his address here to this progressive caucus of 4 political formations in Parliament?
Well, as you know, Mkhonto Sizwe is now the official opposition in Parliament. The caucus aims to lead, that formation in the form of what are we trying to achieve, what are we going to achieve, what's our program of action. And in effect, we're pretty much setting the tone for all the members to understand what it is that this formation aims to achieve.
Mr. Ndlela, we are going to ask that since they are singing inside, can we just go inside to get a few visuals and see the mood of this progressive caucus? I'm just going to ask my colleague Thulo Monare so that we go inside as we continue engaging with Mr. Ndlela. Just in essence, what's your game plan for this evening in this address by the President in the official opening of Parliament?
Well, we'll attend as Mkhonto Sizwe members, and obviously EFF will also be there, or the other parties. And we'll then hear what this president has to say and what he promises again, or lies, like he always does, of what he wants to achieve.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ntlamulo. Just going inside, we are going to show you these visuals of this progressive caucus live on the SABC. They have just been addressed by Dr. Mandlakayise John Hlophe as they are heading into this evening's official opening of the National Assembly. As you can see, the members of the Economic Freedom Fighters, the MP this side, it is the ATM, and other political formations as they were charting their way forward going into this evening's official opening of the National Assembly. You can see Floyd Shivambu, you can see Sihle Ngubane and David Skosana at the back, and some members of other political formations, Dutizile Zuma as well, from the MK party. As you can see on the stage there, you've got Julius Malema, the leader of the EFF, Dr. Mandlakayise Hlophe, who is the leader of the official opposition in the country as it stands, as dictated by the Rules Committee yesterday in Parliament, as also officially communicated by the Speaker of Parliament, Togo Titiza. I also have the leader of the ATM, Vuyo Zungula. I've got the leader of the NCC as well, as they will be effectively chanting the way forward for the country as the official opposition of the country. The mood is very jovial. We will hear from them in the next 20-30 minutes on what they have to address the nation on, particularly on matters pertaining to the governance of the country, the various budget votes that were taking place in the various committees. You can hear them singing the songs about land as well. Let's just take a moment to get the nut sound.